Jim Holley, Supercross Live on supercrossonline.com. Well, this guy started his professional Supercross season last weekend in that East. You whole side of that main. You picked up $1,000 from nuclearcowboys.com. How was it out there for your first ride?
You know, I was actually a little nervous for my first run, and I didn't know what to expect, and got a good start and just got a little too excited and just tried to close off PJ and should have just shut the door all the way, but you know what?
You were too nice.
I was doing a little too nice, but you know, it was a bad area just to try to come in at. But like I said, I was just so happy to be up there, and you know, just crashed after that. Tried to make my way back up, and then crashed again. By then, the race is already over.
You go back and look at the tapes with your dad and maybe James or some, and they give you their opinion, like, man, you were too nice out there. You should have stuffed it in, or maybe they said, well, maybe you should have waited. You know, it was only. You know, we were just a little bit into that race. You already had that $1,000 in your pocket.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, you know, they said, like, in general, you rode good, but you just got a little too excited right out of the gate. And my brother explained to me that. He's like, man, my first race, I was the same way. And then when I ran in the back of Gosler, actually at A1. So he's just explaining to me the same thing, you know, but just don't get too excited.
You ready to go for next weekend? That's when you start back up round 2 on that East Coast, Atlanta. Yeah,
I'm actually going to come back for some revenge, so I'm definitely going to see what happens.
You know, Chris Hunnell at O'Neill, he said you were looking good in that O'Neill gear.
I was looking fly.
All right, let me ask you this. Your brother James, he had a chance to look at the tape from Houston in his race when him and JT got together. You know, what did he say about that?
Actually, you know, I really never questioned about what happened between him and JT. He never really said too much about it, actually. He just pretty much watched my race, and that was about it, you know, just tell me what I did wrong. But actually, he's like, I had a bad mistake in my race too. So he said, you know what, let's just come back and swing in for the Atlanta. So